Hello everyone and good day to you. We are the Group 4, consists of Cabilao Jude, Engine Cadet Espinosa Luigi, followed by Engine Cadet Navarro or myself. Next is Engine Cadet Padigos Leonard, and lastly, Engine Cadet Sumaganday Edson. Our topic is all about the Global Interstate System. By the way, this video is for educational use only. Our group is allowing our instructor, Mr. Roldan Ardenes, to use this as an educational material. I do really hope that you will be listening to our video and pay attention to what we will be talking or sharing about. Our objectives for this topic is to explain the global interstate system, and that is the first objective. Next, or the second objective, is to explain the role of international financial institution in the creation of a global economy. Third objective is to narrate a short history of global market integration in the 20th century. Fourth objective is to identify the attributes of global corporation. And last and fifth objective is to explain the Bretton Woods system. So let's go to the first objective, and that is the global interstate system. It is the whole system of human interactions. The modern world system is structured politically as an interstate system, wherein a system of competing and allying states. Political scientists commonly call this the international system, and it is the main focus of the field of the international relation. Example of global interstate system includes epidemics, finances, cities, the internet, trade system, and so on. The development of global interstate system, or by Immanuel Wilterstein, wrote that the development of a capitalist world economy created all of the major institutions of the modern world, including social classes, nations, households, and states. These institutions also created each other, as nations, classes, and households came to be defined by their relations to the state, and were subsequently able to shape the state. Out of this structural chaos on a sub-state level, the basic elements of a state could emerge. But state could only gain conscious recognition when other states were able to define and relate to them. Next is to know the purpose of global interstate system. The purpose of global interstate system is to contribute to peace and security by promoting international collaboration through educational, scientific, and cultural reforms in order to increase universal respect for justice, the rule of law, and human rights, along with fundamental freedom. Next, we need also to know the importance of global interstate system. The most important feature of the interstate system is that it is anarchic. Unlike politics within states, relation between states take place in Hobbesian, or state of nature, since an anarchic system is one in which all states constantly face actual or potential threats. Their main goal is the security. So, in my opinion, we need to have the balance of the power in the interstate system in order to prevent any single state from controlling the world or economy and from imposing a political monopoly over accumulation. The interstate system and international relation between two states are dominated by interstate relation. So their relations are dominated by coercion or threats and force. International violence is shaped by and consequence of state power. Thus, we need to realize that effective global governance will allow us to end armed conflict, deal with new and emerging problems such as technological risk and automation, and to achieve levels of prosperity and progress never before seen. The most important challenge for humanity to overcome is that of existential risk. The principle of global interstate system, or the country states are sovereign in governments and law, but they make economic and legislative compromises for mutual benefit with other sovereign jurisdiction. It takes diplomacy and international treaties to cultivate the most viable business environments for global cooperation. So we need to define also the international system since we are already talking about it. The term international system may refer to in politics, international relation, it is the global constellation of state. The term is commonly applied to the international system of the 20th century and can equally be applied to pre-industrial international state system. Since we are already talking about the international system, let's move on to the next objective, and that is to explain the role of international financial institution in the creation of a global economy. By the way, I'm Engine Cadet Navarro, and that is my topic. The next reporter will be Engine Cadet Padigos Leonard.
Thank you, fellow Engine Cadet Navarro, for such impressive report. So now, let's move on to the types of international financial institution. The first is World Bank, the international financial institution that provides loan to countries of the world for capital projects. It was established by the United Nations Monetary and Financial Conference, or the Bretton Woods Conference. The World Bank is like a cooperative made up of 189 members countries. These member countries or shareholders are represented by a board of governors who are ultimately policymakers at the World Bank. Generally, the governors are member countries of Minister of Finance or Minister of Development. They meet once a year at the annual meetings of the boards of governors of the World Bank Group and the International Monetary Fund. The next is the Asian Development Bank. The Asian Development Bank is a multilateral development bank dedicated to reducing poverty in the Asia-Pacific region by means to sustainable economic growth, social development, and good governance. The origin of ADB was conceived in the early 1960s as a financial institution that will be Asian in character and foster economic growth and cooperation in one of the poorest regions in the world. A resolution passed at the first Ministerial Conference on Asian Economic Cooperation held by the United Nations Economic Commission for Asia and the Far East in 1963 set that vision on the way to becoming reality. The Philippines, capital of the Manila, was chosen to host the new institution, which opened on December 19, 1966. With 31 members that came together to serve a predominantly agricultural region. Takashi Watanabe was ADB first president during the 1960s. The ADB focused much of its assistance on food production and rural development. Islamic Development Bank is a multilateral development bank working to improve the lives of those who serve by promoting social and economic development in member countries and Muslim communities worldwide. delivering impact at scale. We provide the infrastructure to enable people to lead better lives and achieve their full potential. The last international financial institution is International Monetary Fund. This type is to ensure the stability of the international monetary system. It does so in three ways: keeping track of the global economy and the economies of the member countries, lending the countries difficulties, and giving practical help to members. At the top of its organizational structure is the board governors. The day-to-day work of the IMF is overseen by its 24-member executive board, which represents the entire membership and supported by IMF staff. The managing director is the head of the IMF staff and chair of the executive board. She or he is assisted by four deputy managing directors. To fully understand about my topic, I'll show you a short video regarding the International Financial Institution. Once again, this is Engine Cadet Padigos. Thank you for your time.
World Bank. World Bank mission is to end extreme poverty, which is to achieve the percentage of people living by 2030. World Bank also want to promote shared prosperity in order to foster income growth of the population in every country. Role of Asian Development Bank. The bank provide loans and equity investments for the economic and social advancement of developing member countries. Besides, it's provide technical assistance for the preparation and execution of development projects and programs. Promote investment of public and private capital for development purposes is the function of Asian Development Bank. Role of Islamic Development Bank. The purpose is to foster the economic development and social progress of member countries as well as jointly in accordance with the principles of Sharia Islamic. The bank are to participate in equity capital and grant loans for productive projects and enterprises. It's also to establish and operate special funds for specific purposes, including a role of International Monetary Fund, IMF. The IMF's primary purpose is to ensure the stability of the system of exchange rates and international payments. IMF is to monitor the economic and financial policy and help them achieve macroeconomic stability and reduce poverty. IMF also provide loan to member of countries and overcome economics difficulty.
So, thank you, Engine Cadet John Leonard Padigos, for your wonderful presentation. So now, I am Engine Cadet Espinosa Luigi, who will narrate a short story or short history of global market integration in the 20th century. So first, what is market integration? So market integration is a situation in which separate markets for the same products become a single market. So separate sila nga markets na it will become one. And we are talking about global, it means the world. So global market integration. So there are three types of market integration according to my research: the horizontal integration, vertical integration, and conglomeration. So that is just a review. So now we will proceed, or let's hop on to my main topic, which is the global integration in 20th century. So short history. The international economic integration achieved during the 19th century was largely unraveled in 20th by two World War and Great Depression. So it was investigated or explained or solved when we're talking about largely unraveled. So World War I brought the liberal economic order of the late 19th century to an abrupt end. So unexpected ang pag-ending sa itong liberal economic order. So 1914 clearly marked a dramatic discontinuous break in the past. So import shares fell only marginally in Britain during the war. In France, the import share rose from 20% before the war to 36.7% during the war. Again, expert fell sharply. So, grabe kayo ang increasing sa shared nga roast. Grabe, 16.7. Yeah. Before sa war, small pa. So, grabe kayo affected if kanang naay conflict ang mga countries. So, export ratios rose in a neutral economies such as in Sweden, Japan, and North America, where grab production expanded sharply during the war years to meet Allied demand. So, there's so many countries that was export the ratios of roast, and just like interstate, they demand an ally. So the absence of European manufactured export on world market stimulated the expansion of industrial capacity above all in the United States and Japan, but also in countries such as India, Australia, and Latin America. So export. The end of war did not imply an end to protection. Different tariff act and restriction are made. So ang mga rules and gipanghimo, so murag nis they begin to be more protective, so to the country after the end of the war because of some conflict. The Great Depression, where World War I and World War II was of course a major reason for the adoption of severe protection and not just the periphery. So the Great Depression was grabe yung cost sa every country, not just like every building was destroyed, etc. Beginning in 1932, there were several signs that at least some countries were trying to moderate, if not severe, the increase of protectionism of previous year or two. So, increase nila ang ilang protection so that they will do the marking integration properly. Post-war economic, so the ending of war, reintegration was supported by several factors, both technological and political. So, nabi kayo support na kayo and naman sa war, so and mo sila or ilang reintegration hindi balik. So, import shares fell only marginally in Britain during the war. In France, the import share rose from 20% before the war to 36.7% during the war. Again, export fell sharply. So this line here has a similarities of the conflict of Ukraine and Russia today, because I have observed that the gasoline now of the Philippines was affected. So it was increasing, the gasoline now here. So it was so sad because we Filipinos and our country Philippines was also affected, and it is so sad also that their country has a conflict, and there are so many people dying, casualties, and etc. And some market integration has also been conflict because of this war. So history repeats itself. So it is hard to believe, but it is the truth. why we are also affected in the conflict of Ukraine and Russia, because one of our sources of gasoline is the Russia country, and that's why our gasoline now is increasing, as I have observed. Reporter will be Engine Cadet Jude Cabilao. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Engine Cadet Espinosa, and I am Engine Cadet Cabilao Jude. Let's talk all about the attributes of global corporation. What is attributes of global corporation? We're here to tackle about the 8 attributes of global corporation. First, very high assets and turnover. To become a multinational corporation, the business must be large and must own a huge amount of assets, both physical and financial. The company's targets are high and they are able to generate substantial profit. Second, network of branches. Multinational companies maintain production and marketing operation in different countries. In each country, the business may oversee multiple offices that functions through several branches and subsidiaries. Third, control. In relation to the previous point, the management of offices in the other countries is controlled by one head office located in the home country. Therefore, the source of command is found in the home country. Fourth, continued growth. Multinational corporations keep growing even as they operate in the other countries. They strive to grow their economy size by constantly upgrading and by conducting mergers and acquisitions. Fifth, sophisticated technology. When a company goes global, they need to make sure that their investment will grow substantially. In order to achieve substantial growth, they need to make use of capital-intensive technology, especially in their production of marketing activities. Right skills. Right skills is multinational companies aim to employ only the best manager, those who are capable of handling large amount of funds, using advanced technology, managing workers, and running a huge business entity. 7. Forceful marketing and advertising. One of the most effective survival strategies of multinational corporation is spending a great deal of money on marketing and advertising. This is how they are able to sell every product or brand they make. And the last is good quality product. Because they are use capital intensive technology, they are able to produce top of the line products. A global corporation, also known as a global company, is coined from the base term global, which means all around the world. The global company definition is a little more lenient to accommodate this fact, that which would enable more companies to call themselves global companies. It refers to the degree the company has globalized its market presence and customer base. Oil and car companies score high on this dimension. Walmart, for example, the world's largest retailer, on the other hand, generates less than 30% of its revenues around the world. The global company must have a presence in all major world markets: Europe, the Americas, and Asia. Other may define globality in terms of how globally a company sources. That is how far its supply chain reaches across the world.
The extent to which a company sources from different locations and has located key parts of the supply chain in optimal locations around the world. Caterpillar, for example, service customer in approximately 200 countries around the world, manufacturers in 24 of them, and maintains research and development facilities. The degree to which a company has globalized its financial structure. This deals with such issues as on what exchange the company shares as listed, where it attracts operating capital, how it finances growth and acquisitions, where it pays taxes, and how it repatriates profit. Multinational corporations are a function of this interconnectedness as they can form and utilize the connection between national economies to operate within multiple countries. This represents as flows of physical goods between economies such as raw materials, energy, food, parts, and consumption goods. The process of increased interconnectedness among countries, the prosperous economic development that is typically gained because of the increased interconnectedness among countries, usually results in a better standards of living and an overall improved quality of life. That's all. And the next reporter will be Cadet Sumaganday.
Thank you, Jude Cabilao. So I am Engine Cadet Sumaganday, Edson. So I'm gonna report about the Bretton Woods system. So the Bretton Woods system of monetary management established the rules for commercial and financial relations among the United States, Canada, Western Europe, Australia, and Japan in the mid 20th century. The Bretton Woods system was the first example of a fully negotiated monetary order intended to govern monetary relations among independent nation states. The chief features of the Bretton Woods system were an obligation for each country to adopt a monetary policy that maintained the exchange rate by tying its currency to gold, and the ability of IMF to bridge temporary imbalance of payments. Also, there was a need to address the lack of cooperation among other countries and to prevent competitive devaluation of the currencies as well. Preparing to rebuild the international economic system while World War II was still raging. 730 delegates from all 44 allied nations gathered at the Mount Washington Hotel in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, United States, for the United Nations Monetary and Financial Conference, also known as the Bretton Woods Conference. The delegates deliberated during July 1st until 22nd, 1944, and signed the Bretton Woods Agreement on its final day, setting up a system of rules, institutions, and procedures to regulate the international monetary system. This accords established the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF, and the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, or IBRD, which is today is part of the World Bank government, or World Bank Group, rather. The United States, which controlled 2/3 of the world's gold, insisted the Bretton Woods system rest on the both gold and the US dollar. Soviet representatives attended the conference but later declined to ratify the final agreement, charging that the institutions they had created were branches of Wall Street. This organization became operational in 1945 after a sufficient number of countries had ratified the agreement. But on August 15, 1971, the United States unilaterally terminated the convertibility of the US dollar to gold, effectively bringing the Bretton Woods system to an end and rendering the dollar a fiat currency. This action, referred to as Nixon shock, created the situation in which the US dollar became a reserve currency used by many states. At the same time, many fixed currencies also became free-floating. The political basis for the Bretton Woods system was in confluence of two key conditions: the shared experience of the two world wars, with a sense that failure to deal with economic problems after the first war had led to the second, and the concentration of power in a small number of states. So, in short, Bretton Woods system is an exchange of dollar to gold. But since the United States, the gold they have became shrinker or became smaller, the President Nixon terminated the agreement because they have so low of gold. They don't have much gold because so much demand of gold in other countries, and they keep on making many dollars, but the gold they have is shrinking. And also, if the IMF or the World Bank, if the country is undeveloped or is in crisis, the country that ratified or agreed to the agreement can borrow money, or the IMF or the World Bank can lend money. So that is how Bretton Woods system. So why is it called Bretton Woods? Because the conference or the meeting was made in Bretton Woods. So that's why it's called Bretton Woods system. So the US dollar is the head of all the currency in the world or internationally. So the president of that time in the United States is President Richard M. Nixon. That's why it is called Nixon shock when the Bretton Woods system was being shut down or being collapsed. So that's all. Thank you for listening. I am Engine Cadet Sumaganday.
After World War II, it was clear the world needed a new financial system. The gold standard was considered too rigid, but at the same time, economists were worried that countries would devalue their currency to boost exports. For this reason, 44 countries sent delegates to a conference held in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, as of the 1st of July 1944. The US, which held 2/3 of the world's gold reserves after the war, was obviously the most influential player, and ultimately, all currencies ended up linked to the dollar, and the dollar was linked to gold. One important concern arose, though. If a country goes through an economic crisis, how can it get out of it without devaluing its currency? To address this issue, two institutions were created. One, the International Monetary Fund, which was supposed to lend money to countries that are in trouble and cannot attract financing from other sources. Two, the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, which is now called the World Bank and was supposed to help less developed countries grow.
To summarize all our topic, Group 4, the Global Interstate System, which means the relationship between the countries all over the world. So it is a whole system of human interactions, and the purpose of the Global Interstate System is to contribute peace and security by promoting international collaboration. So just like a negotiation. The importance of global interstate system, the most important feature of the interstate systems, and secondly, the role of international financial institution in creation of the global economy. So there are types of it: the World Bank, Asian Development Bank, Islamic Development Bank, International Monetary Fund. So these types of role of international financial institution can help other countries if they need help or they will borrow money financially. So and the third is the history of global market integration in the 20th century, and also the attributes of global corporation, and the Bretton Woods system that has a two institution, the International Monetary Fund, or what we call IMF, and also the World Bank. And that's it. It's all our topic. So thank you for listening, guys, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope you gain knowledge from what we discuss about the global interstate system.